Welcome to the Rusted Garden Homestead. This is the third video in the series on building and growing your first vegetable garden. We've already built out the beds, designed the space, filled the bed. So today we're going to plant. We're going to plant fast-growing cool weather crops. I'll go over those. And we are focusing on cool weather vegetables. Cool weather means the plants like at least 45-degree soil. And generally speaking, they like 40-degree nights, 50-degree nights, 60-degree days, 70-degree days. So they're the cool weather crops. They can also take a light frost. So these are the plants that you get in first. Starting with the fastest growing, and I know we're going through some difficult times now. If you are thinking about planting a garden to kind of supplement your food while a lot of people are off work, mustard greens grow really quickly. They mature in 21 to 45 days. And arugula matures really quickly. That, after germination, 25 to 30 days. So arugula, mustard greens are your fastest growing greens. Then you get to your lettuces. They take about 35 to 45 days after germination. Then you get to spinach and beets. That can take anywhere from 60 to 75 days. And then mixed in there are your peas. And peas can take up to 75 days. But you can eat pea tendrils as they're growing and as they're developing. For the peas, I wanted to explain real quick. There's basically three types. There's your shelling peas. I'm going to grow some of those. These are my purple potted peas. And that means shelling. You have to remove the shell. You can't eat the shell. You just eat the peas. Then you have sugar pod type. That's kind of like the peas you find in Chinese food. It's the flat pod with immature peas. And then you have your sugar snap peas, which is a full plump pod that you eat mature peas and you eat the shell. We're going to plant all three of those. Now, you have to put a little bit of thought into where you're going to plant. So for instance, my sun starts over here and moves out that way. So the sun is going to be coming in this way over the morning and late afternoon. So basically, if we're going to draw a line, my sun is going to be going like that, in that direction. So why is that important? Because if you put all your tall plants right here and the sun's coming from that side, they're going to cast, those plants will cast shade down onto your other plants. So you think about where the sun's going to be. Mine's going to be coming from this way. So all the way in the back, I'm going to put the pea plants so they don't shade out any plants. And then some other larger plants I'm going to put right here. So it'll be the largest going down to the smallest, so that sun is hitting all of those. So let me get set up for planting peas. So right along the back, every 2 or 3 inches or so, I put in a hole. I'm actually dropping in 2 peas into there. Half an inch, about a half an inch, about a half an inch, about a half an inch. And then a snow pod type. And I'm putting in a purple pod with that. You just want to go down about half an inch and then just cover them up. We're going to water everything in with a fish emulsion organic fertilizer when we're done. One neat thing about peas is the root system will actually pull nitrogen out of the atmosphere, so they can be grown sometimes in soil that's not the best, but they're still going to get a nitrogen fertilizer. So the peas are in there. Remember, we're going to put the taller crops down to where I'm sitting, and I'm going to just make a row. And you don't have to worry, 1/4 of an inch, half an inch. The seedlings are going to pop through here. And this is where I'm going to put the mustard greens and the arugula. So, I'm sorry, just the mustard greens. These are going to be the tallest. They can get up to 1 foot to sometimes 2 feet high, and they have really large leaves. Now, of course, I'm holding the camera, which I really didn't plan that out well. So let's put the seeds right there. You can see that they're really small, and I'm going to drop them about 1 seed every inch. I'm overseeding. The distance probably should be about 6 inches or so. That's okay, because I'm not going to wait till these get to the full size. I'm going to be eating my greens as they're growing. So I like to plant all my leafy greens. If 2 or 3 seeds fall every inch, that's fine. You can thin them later. I'd like to eat my leafy greens as they're developing. So we put in the mustard greens. All right, let's go to the other side and get some more planted. Now beets are kind of cool because you can eat the leaves and of course you can eat the beet. Now when you get beets, they're these big seeds. These are actually pods. So in each pod there's more than one beet seed. So you want to pick a nice plump pod, and you're just going to put one per hole going across and space them out every 3 to 4 inches. I did 2 rows. I've already dropped a beet into each of those. And when they germinate, you're going to see more than one plant come up. If you're just growing for greens, for the leaves, you can let them go. If you're going to grow because you want a nice big beet, you need to thin them down to 1, and we'll do that in future videos. You also want to label everything so that you know what you're planting. If you're like me, you'll remember, let's see if that'll come in. You'll remember, you know, the day that you plant, but 3 days later you're going to forget. So I put beets in here. We got peas in the back, mustard greens over there. We're going to get to the lettuces, arugula, and maybe we'll fit in some spinach. And again, about 1/2 inch deep, drop in one pod, and just cover over. All right, so we'll go over the arugula, spinach, and salad bowl red, and you can see from my shadow how it's casting in. And again, remember, my sun's going to move this way, and that's what you want. You want the shadows to be going, well, you're going to know the shadows are going to be going this way. So you want to make sure you have your smaller plants over here. So right along this line, this is how I do arugula, about 1/2 inch deep. You don't have to overstress about that. And I don't know if you can see in the trench, there's some light specks, but every inch, 2 to 4 seeds of arugula. It grows really quickly. It'll grow really well in a raised bed. In raised bed, you can put things together a little bit more closely, and then once you drop them in, you're just covering it over. The spinach, I like to do about 1/2 inch, and then you can see in the hole I've dropped 2 seeds per hole. 1/2 inch deep, about 1 inch apart, and we're not growing the spinach to full size. If you wanted to grow it to full size, you would put 1 seed in there and probably spread it out to about 3 inches. But I'm not going to wait for everything to be totally mature because it's going to be too much to eat at once. So I will be eating this as it grows. So here's the trick. As the spinach is coming up and I'm eating it when it's smaller, pick every other plant. So what you're doing is you're giving the plants that are still growing more space, if that makes sense. So I would pick this one and that one, and now these plants here have about 3 to 4 inches in between them. They're going to get larger. For the lettuce, I'm going to grow this as cut and come again lettuce, which means I'm going to seed it really heavily along this line, again 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch deep. And when it gets to 3 to 4 inches, I'm just going to cut it off, leave the roots in, and more lettuce will come. So I'll be harvesting this at all different sizes. Here's what the lettuce seeds look like. And I'm just going to sprinkle in, you know, really closely together. I mean, that was probably 20 seeds. You don't need that many, so let's see if I can slow it down. 1 seed every 1/4 inch, and you would go all the way down. Doesn't matter if you put in too many. You're giving them a lot of space on this side. They'll be able to grow, the roots will work out, and when they get 3 inches tall, you cut them, leave the roots in, you'll get a couple of harvests out of your red lettuces. Now, we kept space in between here for 2 reasons. Lets airflow go through, which is always good. Leave space open for birds to come in and walk around, get after snails and slugs. And you don't want to overcrowd everything, so you do want to give it some space. Also, with having the space in between, I can put down baited pellets for the snails and slugs. I have that problem in my area where slugs and snails can devastate my leafy greens, but since I've been using iron phosphate or sulfur snail baits, it's a mouthful to say. So they're these really tiny little baits. They're either sulfur based or iron phosphate based. You just sprinkle them around very lightly. The snails eat them, their gut shuts down, they leave you alone. It really makes a difference. All right, so let me cover these up. If you need seeds, I do sell most of these at my seed shop. Also sell the little labels. I'm going to cover up the seeds and then we'll get to watering it in with a fish emulsion fertilizer. All right, so we direct sowed beets, arugula, spinach, lettuces, and peas, and mustard greens. And remember, if you're looking for crops that grow really quickly, arugula and mustard greens are some of your fastest growing greens if you want to get something started into the table pretty quickly. Use any water soluble fertilizer. just follow the outdoor instructions and just water it in something like that. You don't have to over soak them, just enough that you know that the water is getting to the seeds. That will start the germination process. And you're going to have to water, well, you're going to have to water regularly, a lot less during the cool times. I'm in Maryland Zone 7. When the tops of the soil look dry, just give them a quick drink like this. But you're going to fertilize every 10 to 14 days, depending on the size of your plants. Again, this is direct sowing. We're going to do a couple videos on planting transplants like kales and other cool weather crops. But this will get you started. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please check out my seed shop at therustedgarden.com. Thanks for watching.